Today we're going to have a look at a special pen from a brand that has made a lot of stuff but has not yet made pens, and that brand is Hugo Boss. And I thought I would have Lord Windermere here because I'm a boss. Yes, because he is a boss. So, the pen lent to me by B.R.E Pen. Thank you, I appreciate it. And there are a few pens in this lineup. I'm going to review three of those, three fountain pens. There's also roller balls. I'll be focusing on the three roller balls, the three fountain pens, of course, sorry. Today we'll start off with the sequence. The sequence. It comes in a cardboard outer sleeve which has the Hugo Boss logo on it. And then it has this smooth box with a little magnetic closure, and then in there is the pen. I'll show you the pen in 1 second. What else is in there? There is a little card that shows you how to put in a Schmidt refill for the rollerball. Probably by accident a rollerball box or something, doesn't really matter. And then there's the certificate of authenticity, which is not that fancy. I'm sure that someone who's a little smart with a fancy printer can create this, but I mean, let's assume, I mean, of course this is an authentic pen. It's interesting that you do get a certificate of authenticity. And this is the sequence. Now, of the three Boss pens I have received, have borrowed from Joost, from B.R.E Pen, this one is my favorite. It's my favorite in looks and feel. So I thought I would do this one first. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. Okay? Now let's start out with the very top of the pen right there, the finial. There's nothing, no Boss logo or anything. Then we have the clip. The pen is made of, it's plated in a matte dark chrome. It's a bit gun color gray, I would say. Then you have the barrel. This one is definitely ribbed for her pleasure, as you can see, and a little end cap there and threads for posting. The cap unscrews, and I like that there is not a whole bunch of threads, so it's fairly easy to uncap the pen. We have the section, simple hourglass shaped section, and a nib. And I have to say, pardon me, I really do like these nibs. They are engraved, that's not laser etched, and I think it looks pretty neat. Now, it is a steel nib. It does say Hugo Boss, and it has all those angular things, and I think that's pretty neat. This pen did not come with a converter. I don't know if they typically do or if a converter is added, but it came with just a cartridge, which I've taken out for now, but that's what you get. So steel nib, cartridge, converter, filled pen, which comes with a cartridge. Now what I can say about this pen is that it's solid. It feels heavy, and you really feel that it's a solid metal pen, but even for a metal pen I find it on the heavy side. So if you like really light pens, this is probably not for you. The clip works well. It is attached to the cap with a little metal ring and a thin metal part there to keep everything in place. I don't like that so much because I typically bend those things. That setup I typically bend, but okay. Final thing, on the center band here it says Hugo Boss in engraving. Now, you can post this comfortably, and what I liked is that the nib and feed do line up, at least almost exactly, so that's kind of neat. You get a very top-heavy pen when you do so, but the posting is very secure, of course, because you can thread the cap in place. There you have it. Writing performance. I didn't really have issues with this pen. It writes adequately, it writes fairly smoothly, so what you buy the pen for, it does. It delivers. It is a nice writer. Is it the smoothest nib I've ever used? No, it's not. It's also fairly rigid. You don't really squeeze a lot of line variation out this, but you can a little bit. And that's that. So what do I really like about the pen? Well, I like these looks. It's a neat pen. I think it looks good because of those ribs, but also the pattern on them with finer ribs, and then those rings that they also continued in the cap, very evenly spaced. I think it looks for a very neat industrial design type pen. I like the way it feels. I like this section. This section I don't find slippery. It is a sort of a matte covering, and I think that makes for something that you can hold quite pleasantly without it getting slippery, as some metal sections do. The clip works. It will keep the pen in place. It's cute that you can post it. It gets very top heavy. It's all metal, a big metal cap, so I do find that tilting a bit too much to the back. So I don't think a lot of people really post it unless you have colossal hands. For me, this is it. You know, I think it's too much. I would use it like this, and then of course it is maybe a little bit small. Another thing I think they could improve on, and that is nitpicking from a fountain pen lover, I guess, but I think that this pen would look really neat with a number 6 nib and not the number 5 that's on here. I think it looks a little dinky given this section. I think it would look very, very cool if you put a number 6 nib on. Maybe in the future. Right now the whole lineup is number 5. It is a steel nib, and that's all. Now, the final thing I specifically wanted to mention here, because I've talked about how it writes, what it feels like, and what I like. Little sharp there, not really sharp there, so I think they've really done a nice job on this. But this is what I really wanted to mention. This pen cost 219 euros. So I don't know, was that $225, something along those lines, I guess. For a cartridge converter pen, where the converter is not supplied and the nib is steel, I think that's getting pretty pricey. I'm not saying that if this would have a piston filler that it would immediately be worth the price, but given what it offers, I find it a little hard to justify the price. Now, we all know that what's going on here is branding. Hugo Boss, big branding, clothes, colognes, etc., what have you. They're clearly branching out. We would expect that from something like Mont Blanc. It has a white star, you know the price goes up. It's that simple. With Hugo Boss, I'm not sure. I've got the feeling that this is something that, you know, the price is not exactly linearly related to the pen. But I can also see that for corporate gifts, etc., when, you know, it's a business expense, people don't really care. Clearly Hugo Boss is a very business-oriented brand, I would say, with their suits and all that. I could see this work. For a private user, although I like this pen, although I like the finish, I like all of that, I don't see the price in there. Now, having said that, of course, your opinion may vary. Of course, you may like this if you're a big Hugo Boss fan. I could see you would want to add this to your collection, no matter the price. There are a lot worse pens out there, but many of those also have gold nibs, which this one does not. But anyway, it's also pretty small. On 10 inches. Yes, it is in fact pretty small, and Lord Windermere is 10 inches. Having said all of that, we need to see a writing sample. That's coming up next. High resolution pictures of the pen will be on the website, sbrebrown.com, as well as measurements. And that's it. Joost, thank you for lending me this pen. I'm actually packing this up, and I'm going to hand deliver it to you right after shooting this video. So, guys, I hope this was useful so far, and I'll gladly see you later. Like a boss. Bye. I do a pretty good Lord Windermere impression. Okay, so here we go with the Hugo Boss sequence. The nib is a fine medium, and the ink is Iroshizuku Konpeki. Do a bit of writing. Nib is fairly smooth. Not the smoothest one in the world, but I think I find this one the smoothest of the 3 Hugo Boss pens I've reviewed. It has a kind of feedback, but I find it's a pleasant kind of feedback. It's definitely not scratchy. Wetness, I like that. Line variation, definitely some to be had there. Bit of railroading, but not that terrible. For those of you who enjoy it, reverse writing. Of the 3 Hugo Boss pens, it's the scratchiest in this one, but it does keep up relatively well, and you do go to a finer nib grade, so not at all bad. A kind thank you to Appelboom Pennen for lending me this pen. I appreciate it. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later.